Hello and welcome to CultureWatch. I'm Mark Rabick, and with me is Bill Muhlenberg for another topic to discuss. How are you, Bill?
Hey, doing well, thanks.
Well, are we doing well? It's been a tumultuous 48 hours or so since events transpired in Utah in the United States, which have really, I have to say, rocked not just the United States but the world. Charlie Kirk was at one of his turning point events at a university in Utah and was shot and murdered by a sniper, and many people have reacted in different ways. How did you hear about the news, Bill?
Yeah, well, interesting. It was, Australia time, early morning, so I was actually asleep. And a friend called me fairly early in the morning, and the first thing he said was he was only 31. So I had to confess, well, look, I haven't turned my computer on or heard the news, so you better refresh my memory. What are we speaking of? And yeah, he told me about Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck. So I had to quickly ask, well, is he alive? Is he dead? And, he died, almost instantly. And so, yeah, that's how I first heard about it. And it's so many. It's been a buzz for the last 48 hours about Charlie Kirk. My own website, I've now got 5 articles written in the last 48 hours about this very matter, and more will be coming. So it's not just, as you say, America. I just looked at the Herald Sun, at least the online Herald Sun. Top 3 stories in the Herald Sun website, all about Charlie Kirk, and especially his recent message given by his wife. So, it's here in Australia. A huge rally took place in London just recently. So kind of all around much of the world, people have... Wow, Charlie Kirk, I knew a little bit about him. I heard about him. And so, yeah, the whole world is talking about his tragic death and political assassination, but a lot of already possible outcomes of, how we proceed with all this.
It's really quite shocking to see something like that happen in broad daylight in front of... I couldn't estimate exactly how many numbers were in the crowd, but I would have thought there was at least 1,000 people there, or several hundred at least.
Well,
and
no. 3,000 was the official estimate.
Right, okay. Shocking for something to happen right in front of so many people. I can't imagine for some of those people who are nearby. Look, for those who are especially close, I can't imagine what that would have been like. Now, broadly speaking, there are probably 2 different responses to the tragedy, and that would be that a lot of people are sympathetic and showing... I suppose just shock and horror, I guess you could say, at the circumstances. But what has unfortunately transpired in the time since has been we have seen rather a lot of very callous and just terrible responses from people, very gleefully gloating and celebrating even the fact that Charlie was shot and murdered this way. And I think one of the things that's probably behind it that I'd say would be a ongoing media distortion of, well, not just Charlie, but other conservatives as well. Because often when you hear these people talk about Charlie, the accusations and the characterizations they make about him aren't even close to being true. All you need to do is, go and watch an unedited clip of him speaking at one of these events that he's conducted all over the United States in different universities, and you'll see he's very civil, he's typically not angry, and is giving opportunity to people who are obviously sometimes even quite angry at him, but certainly opposing him, and giving them an opportunity to ask him questions or make a statement to him. And so what would you say about the responsibility of the media and how they've acted in the last, well, I mean, it's not just 1 or 2 years. We're talking an extended period of time now.
Yeah, well, you're quite right. Two very different reactions. Anybody with a heart and a soul and a human being of any description who's, not consumed in hatred would have your first reaction: grief, shock, sadness. This is terrible, this is horrible. But there were many, as you say, thousands, millions probably, more or less on the left side of things, secular left, as you say, delighting in this, celebrating in this, cheering this on, saying, who's next? Let's get Ben Shapiro next. Let's get any number of people next.
Well, some of them have even suggested getting his wife now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, look, I mean, as I say, this is not just left-right. It's even more than good versus evil. It's kind of, God versus Satan. It really is a spiritual war. Charlie was an out and proud evangelical, biblical Christian. He made no bones about it. He was really a Christian evangelist first and foremost, and then secondarily a conservative commentator, helped to really bring in Trump at the last election, rallying millions of young people to start thinking, questioning their beliefs, certainly at the universities, and, giving good, solid answers to honest questions. And so he had a real strong role to play in the election of Trump, which is part of the reason why he's so hated. The same people with Trump derangement syndrome have the same with Charlie Kirk and anybody else like him. They hate these people with a passion. And then, as you say, the complicity of the media. Well, look, when for 10 years at least you have not only the media, much of our political class, much of our commentariat, much of those in power and influence, all demonizing people like Trump, like Musk, like Kirk, every day, hour after hour. You're Hitler, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, right? We've heard this thousands of times by not just the media, the left, the politicians, our schools, our universities. When you get that over and over and over again, guess what? Some people might start acting on it. There is a climate of political violence on the left. Sure, you'll get a few on the right who will carry out this kind of stuff, but it seems to be the hallmark of the left, and it's fueled, aided, and abetted by leftist politicians, leftist media outlets. When you keep saying these guys are so horrible, they're such a Hitler-like figure, well, if you have a moral bone in your body and you're really led to believe these guys are Nazis, well, you might think it's my moral obligation to do something about it. In fact, some of these politicians, many, have basically insinuated that very thing. We've got to do something to silence these people. So if somebody goes out, gets a rifle, and shoots Charlie Kirk to death, that's been fed big time by this whole leftist narrative. And as you say, it's been a false narrative, right? Every stupid and false thing they could say about Kirk, I've seen everything. He hates women, he's a racist, he's a homophobe, and so on. I mean, just take one for 10 seconds, for heaven's sakes. David Rubin is a conservative. He's a homosexual. Right? He's been one of the strongest people the last few days coming to the support of Kirk. So you got kind of a broad church here with conservatives, where you can have a straight married guy like Kirk, David Rubin, the homosexual. They've been in each other's homes. They've had meals together. They've shared platforms together. And yet you'll get idiots either on the media or elsewhere saying, oh, Kirk was a horrible homophobe. None of this is true. He worked with blacks. He worked with women, as we just heard. He worked with homosexuals. So he loved everybody. And his whole point was, let's debate, let's talk, let's discuss. When we stop discussing, that's when political violence starts to happen. And given that the left kept losing, I mean, nobody could really win in these debates. Kirk just bested them time and time again. Well, guess what? The left really is not interested in debate. They're interested in silencing debate. They're interested in silencing us. And when people like Kirk keep getting the better of them, well, what do they resort to? In this case, we shoot them. We kill them. Because that's how we deal with people we disagree with.
I don't know if it's even whether or not, although I do agree, every time I saw him engage with people, he was certainly getting the better of them intellectually and morally. But I mean, he was actually so civil and just pleasant to the people who were sometimes coming up to the microphone right in front of him very angrily and badgering him with questions, wouldn't even allow him the opportunity to fully answer the first question before asking another question, that kind of thing. And so the fact that this guy was actually just civil, just plain nice, it destroys the leftist narrative. And I found it interesting that even his body wouldn't have even been cold when there was a commentator, I've forgotten his name now, Dowd, I think, was his surname. Yeah, he got let go by MSNBC because only hours after the shooting, he was there on MSNBC and basically insinuating that it was Charlie's fault somehow, that he was this hater and he invited this kind of outcome, and it was just awful. And just another example, unfortunately, of how the media demonize people, they characterize people in cartoonish ways that are just completely false and dehumanize people, and he wanted to avoid that. And of course, that doesn't suit leftists. It's very much a them and us. So what do we do? Where do we go from here with this? We've got all these people who have come on to social media. I'm shocked actually at how many people have even dared to put themselves out celebrating someone's death. I've been gobsmacked at how many clips I have seen of people. They've been dancing, they've been singing songs, they've been laughing, all kinds of things, and they're prepared to do that, to not just do that in public, but do that to a global audience. And I'm not really sad, I've got to say, that they're beginning to see some of the consequences of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some foolishly will say there's a moral equivalence here. Oh, I just lost my job because of what I said. Hey, sorry, Charlie. The real Charlie, lost his life. He can't come back. He's never going to be back on planet Earth. If you lost your job because you're such a ugly, horrible person, and that's all we can call these people, that you actually celebrate, rejoice in the murder of a 31-year-old husband and father, and applaud that, and especially if you do it, part of your workplace, could be a school teacher, could be working in social science areas, could be working anywhere. Guess what? If I were a sensible employer, I'd be the first to give you the flick. We don't want people like you. If you're going to deal with children and others, and you're so full of this diabolical hatred, that you rejoice when a young Christian man is killed, well, you shouldn't be dealing with children. You shouldn't be dealing with customers. You should be, getting therapy. You need treatment. So Charlie Kirk is not going to be able to come back, but these clowns, and I've heard over 1,000 already, I'm not sure who's keeping tabs, but over 1,000 have lost jobs for doing this. Well, they can always get another job somewhere, find a woke employer, and they can sit around celebrating to the death of Kirk, but normal people don't want to be associated with these kind of folks as well. And by the way, and go one step further, now that we know who the killer is, right, Tyler Robinson, there's already thousands of posts on the social media saying, hey, leave this guy alone, let him go, let him free. In fact, there's billions, but one I especially saw, he said, hey, this guy should not suffer for the rest of his life for one small mistake that he made. Since when is the deliberate, premeditated murder of somebody simply because you disagree with him, how is that in the world a small mistake? That's called murder. You should be locked up. By the way, Utah's got the death penalty. If that ends up being what happens, well, so it's not just Trump derangement syndrome. It's not just Kirk derangement syndrome. It's now this Robinson. He's the martyr. He's the victim. He's the good guy. We should release him from jail and, celebrate him. So that just tells you again what a sick mob mentality so many on the left have.
Yeah, and one of the things that's actually been a revelation with this, unfortunately, has been that a lot of people would make the argument, well, this is the fringe, this isn't the centre, this isn't the mainstream of the left. But as I've just been talking about earlier, we've been talking about the media, which certainly is mainstream, which has been pushing this kind of narrative. Yeah. But the thing is now, we've had commentators such as, even here in Australia, we've had Hannah Ferguson, who I believe is a journalist and had a very good relationship with our own Prime Minister. Yeah. Abby Chatfield is an influencer, is I believe over 100,000 followers. Clementine Ford, of course, has been well known for well over a decade, or infamous, whatever you want to say, and there's others. I believe, is it that politician, the Teal from New South Wales?
That's right.
Zali, I've forgotten his
Stagel,
yeah. She's also made comments, and so you have this unfortunate picture that, well, is this really the fringe? Are we actually seeing the true face of what people are thinking? And it's not good.
No, it's horrible. It's demonic. It's diabolical. Sure, we have to say not everybody on the left has this same hatred, has this same death wish for anybody who disagrees, but there are far too many, and it's been fed, as we say, for over a decade. The media, politicians, our universities, they're cramming this into the heads, especially of young people. And the killer was just 22, came from a conservative religious family. He got indoctrinated at school, and he lost everything he had picked up from his parents and, went off the deep end. So this is more than just a few fringe. It's, go to any university today, tune into almost any mainstream media outlet today, tune into any, politician in America with the Democrats, many here with Labor. This is the message you get. It's a message of hate. All you hear, these guys are fascists. They're all racists. We have to do everything we can to silence these people. Well, there's a flip side to all this as well. When they shoot and kill, assassinate somebody like Charlie Kirk, who's really a mainstream Christian, Bible-believing, evangelical, believes the same things about marriage, faith, family, freedom, that millions upon millions of Americans believe, that millions of Australians believe, right? Christians all the world over would basically believe everything he's been talking about.
Well, in fact, if we went back probably only 20, 30 years, you would actually find the majority of society, not just Christians.
Yeah, everybody.
That this would have been, we're talking about 95% of people would have agreed with this, and it would have been uncontroversial.
Oh, exactly. So if they can kill somebody like Charlie Kirk for saying and believing the same thing that certainly, at least today, most Christians believe, well, guess what? That means we're a fair target as well. We're fair game as well. If I believe the same thing that Charlie Kirk believes, and I'm kind of public in my own small way with my website, media work, and so on, if they think it's quite fine and, in fact, morally correct to assassinate somebody like Kirk, well, they'd be quite happy to shoot somebody like you or me or millions of other Christians. So this is not fringe, a few nutters on the extremes. This is getting to be a whole new way in which the left operates, demonizing the enemy, as we say. They don't want debate. They want to shut down debate. They want to silence their opponents. And if the only way they can really silence the opposition is to shoot them, well, many of them will think that's a fair game. In fact, a couple of polls have been done just recently. Either Democrats or university students both found that around 50% of those on the left found that either killing somebody like Musk or Trump would be justifiable in some circumstances. So if you got this is 50%, half of the left saying there's a place for political violence, even perhaps assassinations. We don't have a handful of extremes nutters. We have a large hunk of the political left.
I mentioned earlier that Charlie was quite civil and peaceful, I guess you could say, in terms of his approach at these events. He was asked in an interview at some point, I'm not sure how old this clip is, about what legacy he wanted to be left with.
If everything completely goes away, how do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die?
Everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
I've certainly been challenged in the last couple of days on my own stand publicly, and I think this speaks to what Charlie, one of the things that he cared about doing. We should continue to talk to people even though they disagree with us very strongly and treat them as human beings, and sometimes you do have to accept that they might still be very angry, but that doesn't excuse us from trying.
Yeah, absolutely. And Charlie Kirk was an expert at this. The left often demonizes the other side. Charlie and many of us, hopefully most of us, as you say, we try to humanize the other side. These are people made in God's image. Christ died for them. If we can reason with them, try to dispel their falsehoods and nonsense, and keep giving good answers to good questions, maybe we can win some over. So he's gone. The left couldn't stand that, but the legacy, that clip we just heard, being faithful to God, to Christ, to be courageous. Billy Graham once said that, when we stand strong, we can help stiffen the spines of others. And that's exactly what we've got with Charlie Kirk already. And we'll speak in a moment about his wife, Erica, and how she's going to continue. But already we've seen hundreds and hundreds just on the social media. I could give so many examples, but kids saying, what happened to Charlie has just shaken me up, and I want to now stop playing games, stop with the trivial pursuits, stop thinking the whole world revolves around me. I want to now start living for Christ in the kingdom. I want to take a stand. I want to be courageous like Charlie Kirk. I've seen, just ordinary Joes posting on social media said, well, look, I've always kept a low profile. I want to keep my job. I don't want to rock the boat, so I haven't been political or get onto the culture wars. But now I want to take a stand. I want to stop playing these games of trying to be nice to everybody and start speaking truth in love. It's time, we stand up. There's a war going on. We have to do this. And best yet, of these three examples I'm giving now, I've just read one gal who said, look, I've never been religious all my life, never interested, but today I know I need to find God. Today I know I need to become a Christian. And this is all because of the death of one man, right? Tertullian, the church father, said, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And we're seeing that now. I wrote a couple of days ago. Charlie may have been, shot down at the prime of his life, but there'll be hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of new Charlie Kirks being raised up to take his place and carry on the mission. So we can see God at work even in these really dark times.
All right. Well, his wife, I can't imagine his wife, Erica, how she would be feeling at this point in time, and dealing with two young children now, and how to go forward in her life. But nevertheless, in spite of the circumstances, she has boldly shared a clip which she shot in the studio where Charlie would do his podcasts, and went for 16 minutes. We're not going to play all of it, but we'll play just a little excerpt.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country and this world. You have no idea. You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die. All of us will refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment.
I saw her give that talk live. Fox News carried it, Sky News carried it. So I thought instantly, as soon as, 5 minutes in, I thought, I gotta write this up as well. So I wrote a second article that day on that very talk. Before even the transcript was available, before it was on YouTube, I started taking quotes, writing it down, and I put out an article on it. But I just thought, wow, this is an amazing, incredible, inspiring talk. I mean, come on. 48 hours earlier, she lost the love of her life. She's got to now, the kids run up. Mommy, where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? She could just give up in despair or just do, okay, that's it. God, you've called me to all I can do. You'll understand if I just give up and live a quiet life the rest of my life. But no, that's not at all what she said, as we heard. She will keep the legacy of Charlie Kirk going. She will raise up countless more Charlie Kirk. She'll make TPUSA even bigger than what it was under Charlie. I mean, she is, again, we just look at how God does things. It's horrible, shocking that somebody has to lose his life. But if, in the end, God even, A, gets glory to himself, most importantly, but B, can really even do a greater ministry, do a greater work, do more to reach more people with the gospel, do more to help save America from its enemies, do more to encourage people to, stand up for marriage and family, to stand up for faith and freedom. If that's the result, it's a horrible way to have to go through it. But, we got so many Bible examples. You go back straight to the life of Joseph, right? Genesis 50, verse 20. You guys, talking to his evil brothers who sold him into slavery, you guys meant it to me for evil, but God meant it to me for good. We see that kind of line all throughout. The greatest thing, right? The death of Jesus. Satan was rubbing his hands in glee. Ha, I got them. He's dead. That's the end of Jesus. And the darkest, most horrible moment in human history. And 3 days later, Jesus rose from the grave. We're still talking about Jesus today. Charlie Kirk and Erica are talking about Jesus Christ. And who knows how many more will be reached in the days, weeks, years ahead, even because of this very dark episode.
Indeed, and I hope that for everybody, certainly speaking for myself, I've drawn a considerable amount of inspiration out of it, and so I hope that people listening will look at their own lives and see what they can do to make a change, and to reflect who Christ is. So, Bill, thank you for tonight. And is there anything else you want to add to what we've talked about?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of bases here, but again, we'd say the same thing the Kirks have said. It's time to put away your kind of narrow self-interest as a Christian. Yeah, we all have issues. We got to raise families and do a lot of good things. But at the end of the day, we're in a massive war. It's a life and death war, spiritual battle, good and evil. So, we need to take our eyes a little bit off ourselves, our particular issues and problems, and start looking at the big picture. Charlie sold or gave his life for the big picture, to stand up for America, to stand up for Christ and the gospel, to stand up for what is good and true and beautiful. And he knew he knew there's a cost to pay. In fact, he even talked about how when you do this kind of stuff, you're going to face not only enemies, but very easily face the loss of your own life. So he knew this could happen. So I think we need that same vision, that same courage, that same Holy Ghost empowerment that he had, and say, okay, Lord, I want to be another Charlie Kirk. I want to be another James, Peter, John, Paul, right? Give me the Holy Spirit boldness to go proclaim the gospel, and not to be afraid, not to fear, but to stand up and make a difference like Charlie Kirk did.
Well, that's a great way to finish the program. Thanks for tonight, Bill.
Thank you.
Join us again another time for another episode of Culture Watch Radio.